Good afternoon. This is Al Schiebel. I'm past president of the Georgia Association of Health Underwriters, and I'll be one of your MCs for the summit. We want to remind you that CE credits will be automatically applied to you based on attendance, and also make sure that we have your license number, that you put your license number on your profile so that we can get the proper credits to you. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. And if there's time for a Q&A, we will address as many questions as time permits. Today, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to start with thanking our sponsors. Without them, none of this would be possible. So I want to encourage everybody to go to the virtual trade show meetings in between sessions and meet the sponsors and engage them. Our platinum sponsor is Senior Market Sales, and our gold sponsor is Humana. Silver sponsors Transamerica, Cigna, Ritter Insurance Marketing, Smart Agent, CareSource, and Purchasing Alliance Solutions. Our summit sponsors are Aetna, Anthem, Benistar, United Healthcare, and WellCare, and our summit's supporter is Emeritus. Now I'm going to introduce to you our current president of the Georgia Association, Deborah Phillips. Just bear with me 1 second, and I'll cue her right now.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Georgia Association of Health Underwriters' first ever virtual summit. Over the last few months, I have thought over and over about my speech to kick off the Medicare Summit. One word that continuously ran through my mind was resilience. Resilience is the process of effectively coping with adversity. It's about bouncing back from the difficulties. The great thing about resilience is that it's not a personality trait. It actually involves a way of paying attention, thinking, and behaving that anyone can learn. If there has ever been a time for resilience, it is now, because I believe COVID will change the way we operate going forward. Open enrollment is going to look a little different this year, and possibly for the foreseeable future. Brokers will now be faced with a host of new challenges, from driving education and enrollment from afar, to obtaining the technology and resources to hold an online open enrollment fair for the first time. Just like us, we're holding a virtual Medicare Summit for the first time. The GAHU Events Committee members came together to organize this virtual Medicare Summit. They changed and they adapted and made the Medicare Summit a reality. In the face of change, we have to move forward, and I believe that is what the Events Committee did. I wanted to share with you a list of all the Events Committee members that helped make all of this happen. And I do want to recognize Michael Walker because he started this process off, and then we all jumped in and followed suit. I also wanted to list Liz and Gina. You guys have been talking to speakers and sponsors throughout the weeks and helping them daily get their site set up. So thank you so much for all the planning and dedication that you bring to this event. We are excited to bring you a team of expert speakers that will help you prepare for open enrollment. As we go through this year, we will bring 1 to 2 hours of continuing education sessions at no cost to members. As we focus on ourselves in a crisis, we become overwhelmed and we panic. When we focus on others, we rise above our fear and act. We have to focus on what we can control. While it is important to be optimistic about things we control, we must never lose faith. If there's been one thing I learned in life, there is good and bad in everything. You just got to look for it. We must have the discipline to face the facts of our current reality. It's through the hardship that we grow and change, and later we look back and become incredibly grateful for what we went through. In any capacity, we must never become so ingrained in everything we do that it is compromising our ability to learn and grow. Once again, we're bringing you a host of knowledgeable speakers that will help you prepare for open enrollment. Please take time to visit and chat with our sponsors. Also know this event would not have been possible without all these speakers and all the sponsors. Thank you so much for attending our summit. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy the information that is shared throughout the event. We will kick off our Medicare Summit with our keynote speaker, Dane Rianhard. At this time, I do want to turn our meeting over to our official host of ceremonies, Mr. Al Schiebel. My friend Al Schiebel, welcome. Thank you so much for helping us.
Thank you so much, Deborah. And now it's my honor and privilege to introduce the current GAHU president, Mr. Dane Rianhard. He's traveling the world. He is in Mississippi today and headed to his home state of Maryland. So Dane, take it away. Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate it.
Al, thanks. Yeah, greetings from Region 5. When I accepted this invitation, I didn't know that I would actually be down here in God's country with all y'all, and they're getting ready for the big SEC kickoff game down here with the Gators. So all of you Florida fans that may be part of this audience, hope you lose. So my daughter's a freshman down here. Making my way back up north as soon as I finish this presentation, but it's an honor to be with you all. It's I don't envy, the fact that we're all trying to do these kinds of events in a virtual platform. I have a 2-day, all day, starting tomorrow morning, strategic planning meeting with our board and some facilitators. And as much as I think it'll be thought-provoking, it's going to be tedious to sit through 8 hours of staring at the laptop. So thank you all for enduring and participating in this virtual world that is reality, and it is what we're dealing with. Because we're a primarily Medicare audience, my comments are going to be limited on the Medicare side, mostly because I don't practice in the Medicare market directly. Our firm, we have about 60 total people in our firm, and we have one woman who does nothing but what we call senior planning, not to be confused with our 2 long-term care specialists, but she does nothing but trying to help people figure out what to do, whether to stay on employer coverage or when transitioning off and moving into the Medicare realm, what to do and how to do it. So I'm looking at these comments, which I shouldn't be doing. I will say that I know that Janet and her team is working actively on enhancing that Medicare certification training so that more and more carriers will be able to be part of the Medicare training for you all. And the goal is to soon be a single source place for the Medicare certification. So I anticipate that will get to the place where we need it to be over the next 6 to 12 months at the most. And that's where that is. I know that the legislative team, and you'll be hearing from Marcy and I think John as well, are going to be tracking the COBRA's credible coverage piece. We do feel pretty optimistic that will happen, and it should, between now and the end of the year, most likely on a year-end legislative effort. So stay tuned for that. That's certainly an enhancement. As far as the work on the board goes, we've been busy, and I had said all along that I didn't intend to do a lot of traveling before COVID, and that I thought that the role of the president should be more of a role as a thought leader and less of a cheerleader. And while I'm happy to be part of this event, I will say that COVID has made it more effective and efficient for us to do these kinds of things. Again, in person is more ideal than doing it virtually, but we are adapting as we just heard in the opening remarks. And as far as the board work goes, we've in no particular order, just how I have my notes set. We've, and I'm proud to say one of the biggest accomplishments we've done already is that immediately in July, I appointed a diversity, equity, and inclusion task force. And we had folks from all over the country participate. We had 3 folks from LA, or from California, as it turns out, that chaired the task force. And we had Ross Pendergrass, Wayne Guzman, and June Taylor were the 3 co-chairs of that task force, and multiple volunteers from around the country participated in that. We also hired a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant to do or conduct the first ever training of the board for diversity, equity, inclusion, which happened last weekend at the budget meeting. And was that last weekend? 2 weekends ago at the budget meeting. And I'm really proud that we did that and will continue to do so. As of the Monday Board of Trustees meeting this past Monday, the 21st, we did have the findings of the task force presented to the board, and the board unanimously voted to continue the task force with the reference to the governance committee to bring it back to the board in a month to be voted on to make it a formal committee. So there will be a national diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. And I'm really proud of that. And I think it'll help us open our tent a little bit broader and wider. And it'll help all the things that we do, from awards to membership, which feeds LPRT and HUPAC and all the things that we do and do well. I've because of I tripped into this, but we are now doing, for those of you who aren't aware, it's probably the vast majority of you, we are doing every other week where I'm hosting a podcast, and it's David Smith is moderating it with me, and we're having guests and just some thought-provoking conversations, whether they're legislative, chapter. We recently had a discussion about chapter issues. We're going to be having Keith Wallace, the Chapter and Leadership Development Chair. Jessica Waltman's coming up. We just had David Mordo present we recorded that yesterday, and that went really well. I think you'll find that of interest. So trying to bring a different approach to how to bring value to chapters and membership, and a different way for you to get a message from me than something in writing in the President's Perspective piece that is traditionally in the America's Benefit Specialist magazine. So if you haven't seen that, it is on iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher. So those 3 platforms, you can pull it down. Again, it's the President's Perspective on those platforms. Speaking of platforms, one of the complaints or issues I've had is that we need to, in the same way that we need to be diverse in the way that we're going about attracting and maintaining our membership, we also need to find a way to be diverse in the way we're communicating with you all. And it historically has driven me a little bit crazy that the primary method of communicating with all of us is through email, and we'll continue to do email, don't get me wrong, but that some of our technologically proficient members prefer to get their message in a push format that isn't email. And so we are doing a lot more with Instagram, LinkedIn, and our Facebook account. So if you're not following us on those platforms, please do so. You'll see more and more information being pushed out in that area. And we're working collaboratively. We're having monthly calls between all of the chairs of NAHU so that we're having discussions, because a number of the committees are trying to do things that are redundant, and people have been unaware of the redundancy. So by having these monthly calls, we've been able to get things like some of our rock stars that are in the social media area, which is led under media relations, and our chair there is Debbie Stocks, but she's got some incredibly capable people working with her and trying to get the messages pushed out from various committees to you all. So again, please follow us on those platforms. Professional development, we will be rolling out a reference-based pricing class in the fall in the next few weeks. Well, probably more like in November. So I guess that is the next few weeks. And stay tuned for that. That'll be Emma Fox and David Smith will be rolling that out, the first few that'll be presented. So we're excited about that. And one of the initiatives that's being launched also under my request is to have a diversity, equity, and inclusion in the professional development range, training that can be done for both your clients and or your agencies. I know that SHRM is doing some of this. I know that we're hearing from you all that we want to be doing more, we as agency owners or our clients want to be doing something with their employees. The questions we're getting from our clients are, hey, when folks are coming back to work, how do we do that? What does it look like? And we've gotten with Keith Wallace and his team to be talking about, okay, maybe we could have an actual virtual chapter meeting on those kinds of things. And we've asked chapter and leadership development to get more engaged, to create more, and working with professional development too, to get more information to the locals so that they can have additional information that is transferable in this new world that we're all working in, and not just this regurgitation of information or pulling stuff off the NAHU websites. We're refreshing that with PD and chapter and leadership development, and very excited about that as well. Membership, we highly, in fact, I'm almost positive that we will be coming forward to you all next summer at the House of Delegates, asking you to reconsider what it looks like to be a member. When I ran for secretary in Albuquerque, I guess it was 5 years ago, sorry, I hear some background noise, I apologize. When I ran for secretary, we had about between 16,000 and 17,000 members, and today we're just over 13,000 and budgeted 12,800 for next year's budget, to give you an idea of what's going on that way. So for every just over 3,000 members, it's $1 million in revenue that NAHU doesn't capture. So we are, we know that we just can't keep doing things the way we've been doing it. All the campaigns and everything else, which have been successful for various stints, but not long-term, need to be revised. And we're going to be, we are looking at that. David Smith, the current membership chair, is working with the board and some others on the board to get a different recommendation out to you all to reconsider of what that means. I do think you're going to see a resurgence of the agency membership model, which was proposed to the board a few years ago. So stay tuned for that and more information. We're certainly not going to be changing the focus and emphasis that we have on our individual members, but we do believe that we can capture through an agency membership model more people that are not participating and not under that tent. So agencies like mine, where we are have a handful or more members, we could have 20 or 30 members, which means more in the leadership HUPAC, and all the things that we do, we could have more people in those positions. So we're excited about the possibilities for that. I guess I'll close on this, Al. This last convention that we just had was virtual, as you all know. It wasn't anticipated this time last year to be virtual. And some cool things came out of it, in particular, the democratic process that's been denied of membership as an unintended consequence of the way that we've had our interpretation of the bylaws done through the voting process. But because we had to come up with a way that we could vote as required by our bylaws, at our annual meeting. We moved to a virtual platform, which we will never go away from, regardless of what the future looks like. We will have face-to-face meetings, and there will be a virtual component. So the days of face-to-face only are over, and I'm pleased to say that people will be able to attend CAP conference and convention. This year's CAP conference is virtual only. Next year's convention in New Orleans is to be determined. But moving forward, when we are fully inoculated and as a population, it's safer to move about and congregate as a mass group, we're going to still have a need to connect people that cannot, for whatever reasons, make it in to meetings on a physical basis. So pleased to say that in doing that, it allows us to be much more democratic, because those chapters that are smaller or less financially gifted are able to send their delegates to the House of Delegates and to vote on these matters that are so important to the future of how we conduct our business. So stay tuned. We've done a lot in the last 3 months. There's a lot more to be done. I always, if you listen to the podcast, I have my telephone number I list at the end of every podcast. I welcome especially messages, text messages, or a phone call. But those are the ways that I like to get my information quickly is, hey, can we do this or that? Can I get a minute to chat with you? And I'll do my best to make myself available to you all. So Al, with all that in mind, I would like to thank everyone from your chapter in Atlanta for having me to your event. And thank you all. And again, anything I can do, please let me know. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Dane, and for joining us. I hope you have a safe trip going back home. And again, thanks for all the hard work that you're doing for us in DC. So with that, do we have any questions from the audience of our president? This is your chance to ask questions. I guess I don't see anything, but at this point, so you're lucked out. So, at any rate,
it's my pleasure to be with you all. Thank you, Al.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Now we have a couple of minutes before our next session, which is at 1:30, which my friend Donna Hill is going to be in charge of hosting. And in the meantime, please do not forget going to the virtual exhibit hall and make some connections with our sponsors, because again, without them, none of this will be possible. I want to say a special thanks to Gina Grantham and Liz Ferreira, because they did a lot of behind the scenes work. And so when you see her, if you have her number, if you want her email, let me know, because, just to thank her. But with that, we're going to go to, let's see, I'm going to end this meeting, and then Donna will start that meeting in about 7 minutes. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon. See you at 4 for me. Bye.